Please welcome back your MC for the 2023 CLOC Global Institute, Jenn McCarron.
All right, we made it. Legal Ops, we made it to the last day of our CLOC Global Institute. Can I check in with you guys about something that happened last night? What happened last night? How about last night? The temporary tattoos? Yeah, well, they came out. I promised you all that I would tattoo my neck and jeopardize my career for at least 3 to 4 days when I walked back into the office. And then some folks at the Ironclad party started having me put them other places than their neck, which could jeopardize my legal ops career permanently. So what happened at that Ironclad party, please, Ironclad, keep it at the Ironclad party. Thank you. A couple of closing housekeeping notes before we get into our last session. One last shout out and thank you for the parfait and the croissant breakfast sponsor, Oric, Harrington, and Sutcliffe. Thank you guys so much. We need that boost in the morning. And a huge thank you to all the remaining sponsors. You really make this event possible. And that exhibitor hall was buzzing. I had so much fun running around putting a microphone in your faces. So now, this is a moment for the hardcore competitive people. It's the moment you've all been waiting for. We're going to reveal our 2023 CGI Grand Prize winner. I don't know if she's still here. A lot of people had to skip to catch a flight, but Joyce Levy-Huymans, are you still in the house, Joyce? I think she may have skipped. Well, everyone, please put your hands together. She's won the grand prize. We're giving her a dinner party experience for being so cool and innovative, Joyce. Thank you. So some reflections before I bring my guests out for a conversation. I have so many reflections about a week focused on transformation. Inward, at work, with legal, with tech, AI. I heard a lot about AI this week and authenticity. More people spoke to me about being authentic than I would have imagined this week, which is going to give me a lot to go away and think about and podcast about. And then hopefully you all will listen to the CLOC Talk podcast. Are we all listening to the CLOC Talk podcast? We have some swag on the chairs for our guests. We have a new looking logo, and the real motif of this podcast has become tech, transformation, and the meaning of life. I can't help but go there sometimes because I'm really fascinated by what draws us all into one of the hardest professions we could all choose in our lives. And it's because we all want that growth, that challenge, and that iteration to our next best selves. I'd love to farm a word or two from the audience, especially in our front rows here, because I do have some giveaways also that I'd like to facilitate here. So for the last CLOC Octopus, this is the last one. It's the last one. I'm going to admit, I was skeptical about the octopus. This was a place where I disagreed and committed. You all are obsessed with the octopus. I'm getting LinkedIn messages like, why won't you give it to the vendors? So I'm like doing politics backstage. This is our very last one, the critter hit. Look, it's a transformational animal. It's super smart, like all of you. And it's got, 8 legs and a lot of tentacles, like all of us. I think we have 12 or more, but it really resembles us. I would like a word, a reflection, a feeling on what you're coming away from this week with. I'm looking over here because I'm feeling it. Yeah, please tell me.
It's been meaningful.
Meaningful conversations and your name is? She's Lilia. Lydia is going to take back to work meaningful combos and context, maybe a couple new friends you can call, and go, how do I do litigation ops? That was me in 2018 after CLOC. I'm like, Jesse, remember me at the Oric breakfast? What the heck is litigation ops?
I'm calling Farrah for that.
Call Farrah. She'll walk you right through it. Can I give you this clock octopus? Okay, I'm going to throw it gently and nod at your face. Woo! We have our last CLOC Talk branded hoodie. This would look really good at the gym where I do all my best fashion, okay? Oh, did you guys see the athletic socks? They're like vintage retro. They go mid-calf a bit. Wear those to the gym, shorts. People will be like, that person knows transformation. I need another word or feeling after meaningful conversations. I saw a hand go up. Early bird gets, go ahead, tell me. Empowerment. We're empowered with new context, new learnings. I have new perspective on AI by just seeing the amount of convo around it and how tuned in we have to be. Empowerment to go back to our jobs and have a different position on things. Please come up and get this sweatshirt. It's going to be nice and boxy on you, which is very in 2023. Here it is. Tell me your name.
Catherine.
Catherine, thank you so much. Wear that everywhere. Wear it to work. Tell your colleagues to listen to CLOC Talk. Tell accounting to listen to CLOC Talk. And our last giveaway here, I'm looking for feelings, not facts, you guys. Forget matter management. Do you know I'm over it by now? I need a feeling, my friend right here at the table, energized. Come on, how much energy and vibe was going on in this room? I'm so moved by the energy, and finally I got back to my normal clock self. I only slept 3 hours last night because I was pumped up from all of you. Please come up. Look what I have for our final person, the honorary CLOC Talk. So you can sparkle on. Tell me your name. Blair, thank you so much. Enjoy. Take lots of selfies with that and tag me on LinkedIn, and we'll talk about it in the comments. Okay. Personal branding, also a big theme this week. All right, let's bring out some guests. You guys ready for the next segment here in our final segment? Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to podcast because it's all I seem to be able to do these days. We're going to do a live podcast right here, not live like going to the world. We're going to record some guests and we're going to publish it everywhere you stream podcasts like Spotify in a couple of weeks. So you are all being studio audience participants in this. So please enjoy, and I'll chat with you a little bit at the end. Let's welcome my first podcast guest to the stage, Vice President of Business Development at LegalBillReview.com, Virginia Griffith. Virginia's going full Barbie-core today with me. And the color palette on our outfits, on our bottles, you guys, it wasn't planned. Stuff is magic. This is what happens. Let's welcome our next guest to the stage, Associate Vice President, Legal Operations at Nationwide, and our 2023 Leo Award winner, Jennifer Mattson. Look, the bottle, the outfit, the attitude. And we have a surprise guest. There was some travel switch-ups. So we went for a panel trying to reflect our membership, ecosystem membership. We have a tech services provider. We have an in-house person and a law practice provider. So we have a surprise guest who didn't make the program. Please welcome to the stage Chief of Staff of Legal over at modCounsel and the Ambassador of Las Vegas, Carl Morrison. Look at this good-looking group. Geez, we know how to pick them. Guys, take a seat. Let's chat. I'm going to sit over here.
Oh, you're going to sit there?
I'm going to sit over here.
I'll sit next to you.
I'm going to take the wheel. Oh, my goodness. Carl, this is the first time I sat all week. Except for I did maybe 12 podcasts in the podcast lounge. So I sat during some of those.
This is my first time to sit down.
Carl's first time sitting all week.
right.
Anyone counting their steps? How much cardio did we get in this week? Just walking these hallways.
I mean, if you want me to be honest, yesterday I got 19,000 steps.
What?
I can believe it.
Yeah,
I can believe
right?
it. Yep.
I know.
19,000 steps?
Can't you tell? You can see it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Virginia, are your feet holding up okay?
Well, this is the first time I've had heels on, so I'm
Oh,
kind of shoes ready to go.
yeah, you
when we're
absolutely
finished.
can't wear heels. You absolutely can't wear them. So well done. Carl, you podcasted here with me
I
last
have,
year.
yeah.
I think we did 12 episodes last year.
And that was a marathon.
It was a
so,
marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
It was really fun. So I brought you guys on because I opened our keynote. The other day, I opened with a keynote about this concept of the dark night of the soul. In every story, the hero's journey, they move through Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, right? Thank you, Shakespeare. Thank you. Thanks, Bill. And at the end of Act 2, in most stories, television shows, and books we read, that hero hits a wall and goes into a moment of despair and doubt and vulnerability. And they don't know if they're going to make it. And when you think about Luke in Star Wars, he's not in touch with the Force and not sure he can do this thing. And he needs Yoda to come and like reprogram and go, meow, meow, and like it's deep within you. Go within yourself. Then he gets back on that Millennium Falcon and he flies it into the Death Star. My man, Luke Skywalker. I confessed a bit in my opening that this is where I am and that I often think about just pulling the plug and just going back and going, I could switch roles. And my team got CLM. They got it. I could jump on the other side of the ecosystem, and these thoughts crossed my mind. You all don't know this, but I went into a vulnerability spiral backstage after. I was like, what did I just tell them? I was like, my team is here. And what is happening? And in Q, our other keynote, he had to hold me for a few minutes, and he let me cry. His poems really kind of put it all into perspective for me. And then I walked around, and it worked. We all talked about really, people were telling me their stories all week and how hard this is, but they're pushing through. So that I'm not the only one who's being vulnerable on stage, who's in this work like you three have lived it for years. I'm bringing you up to tell your dark night of the soul stories. I want you to share them into the podcast with our audience, because I think that's where people learn, is when you talk about the hard stuff and we can relate to it and pick it up.
When you're your authentic self, right?
When you're your authentic self. I mean, what does that mean to you? That is coming up everywhere this week. I feel like we're in search of that in this new world order of a more socially conscious workplace, a chaotic and polarized world. What does authenticity, Carl, mean for you? I mean, you're someone who is so authentic.
I'm just me, right?
You're just you.
I've never been that type of person, even as a child, to want to put on airs or be someone else.
Yeah.
I embrace and struggle with me, right?
Yeah.
And the dark night of the soul, he comes out at times, many times, personally, professionally, throughout my whole life.
Yeah.
And I have learned over the years, right, to really embrace that and own that aspect of me. So that's who I am. That's the authentic me, and I share that freely with people, right? Now, conversely, there are times that I do put a wall up to try to protect myself, right, from that vulnerability.
Is it during implementations of foundational tech solutions?
Oh, you're bringing up a really dark story.
Well, that's where I am. That's where they come, because there's so much uncertainty on the other side. And there's money and people and time and lives invested in getting this stuff done.
Right.
What's the one? I know you recently left. You jumped from your in-house role to modCounsel, a law practice company.
Right.
And you've been through some moments in-house. Which one made you cry? When did you cry at work? In the bathroom?
I'll hold
When-
your hand. You want me to
Yeah.
hold your hand while you talk about it?
So, is this Oprah?
Is-
I didn't realize this was an Oprah show.
Do you guys know I want to be the Oprah of legal ops? That's why I just gently threw things off stage. It's working. We're going spiritual.
When didn't I cry in a bathroom at work? More like it, no,
Got it.
honestly. For me, there was, when I transitioned from Cosmopolitan to Las Vegas, which is where I was heading up the legal operations, and then we were sold to MGM Resorts. And it was a phenomenal opportunity, right, and phenomenal people. And when I went on board with MGM Resorts and their legal department, they had already purchased an ELM system. And so they were right at
ELM, Enterprise
Yes.
Legal
Management.
Manifestation?
Yes.
Management. ELM. I haven't crossed that one yet.
Oh.
But
It's everything.
I get Dark Knight of the Soul vibes from it, just reading the
It
slides.
is kind of Dark Knight.
Yeah, I think
In implementation.
you guys don't write that down and literally never get an ELM. I have to watch my mouth. But I know it works in certain settings. I just happen to be in some of the most information chaotic settings in the last couple of years, so that stuff doesn't work in my realm. But I hope it works in others' realms.
It's not for everybody.
It's not for everybody, ELM.
But they were getting ready to implement, and so and they didn't have a legal ops role. They didn't have a head, so I, by de facto, became their head of legal operations. So I stepped into this. Now we're getting ready to implement on a system and on workflows that I don't fully understand, right? And imposter syndrome came up, right?
Imposter syndrome. And
he came layering.
you're not 21. You're like 28.
Right,
You still have
correct.
imposter syndrome.
Yes, yes.
And not to make anything about gender, but I thought the women had the lock on imposter syndrome. I thought that was just part of womanhood. I thought it was just, but you had it. And
I had it.
recently, in this implementation,
Yeah, and so we were going through it.
you're so capable.
But everyone, I guarantee you, every single person in this room has felt that way at some point in their career, in their life, that they know their skills, they're very confident in what they can do, but that imposter syndrome creeps in, and you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And the system, as we were getting ready to implement and started the implementation, I wasn't looking, I was very happy with everything that was going on. And fast forward 9 months, and going through for those that have gone through any implementation, you guys know the struggle. There's good days and bad days, highs, lows throughout the whole project. And I get down to the wire of it, and I'm approached about a position for chief of staff for modCounsel. And it was an opportunity for me professionally to be part of a company and a value, its services they provide that I was like, this is me.
Recruited for it's looking like it's your dream job. I'm not judging from the outside, but you're in a musical right now.
Right.
You're in a musical.
But for me, the dark night of the soul was the moment when I accepted the position and had to let go of this project that I'd been working on for 9 months. When the finish line was right there, I could see it. And I had to make that sacrifice knowing I was not going to be able to see it to fruition. And I wept. I'm not kidding you. Wow. I wept over that because I felt I'd failed myself, right? That dark night reared up with that sword, and I was like, what have I done by doing this? Am I a failure? Are people going to look at me as a failure? And I realized, no, I'm embracing this authentically, right? And doing this and taking this leap of faith, right? I could have just hesitated and did all this analysis and yada, yada, yada. Going back to your Luke analogy.
Yeah.
When Luke's in training, there's a favorite quote, I use it all the time. When Luke's in training and Yoda asks him to lift that X-Wing fighter out of the swamp, and he goes, okay, I'll try. And Yoda gets pissed at him. He gets really angry, and he goes, no, do or do not. There is no try.
Yeah.
And that was my mantra going into this position as chief of staff. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm not going to try it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go in guns a-blazing. And I know I've made the sacrifice to do this because it is where I want to be, where I want to go. So that dark night, I wrestled him to the ground. He's quiet right now. He'll show himself up again soon, I'm sure. But yeah.
You are still in your Act 3. I mean, this is very recent in the last 6 months. And you made the switch a few months ago, so the months preceding.
Right.
were your dark nights. So here you are in Act 3, and you're taking what you couldn't do and that inner disappointment. I mean, I know we were just talking backstage. The four of us were competing on who's the bigger overachiever. Like what?
I think I won.
And
Yes.
Jen won. And I just like gave you that win.
Okay. No.
I was like, I'm gonna throw her a bone.
That's not. No, it's not how an overachiever wins. They overachieve, so nobody gives you anything.
Here's how I win. I just start talking trash.
Nice.
So professional, and then tattooing people's bodies with weird contract life cycle phrases. Cool. So okay, but you took this. It was like a vacuum of darkness that went into you, and now you thrust forward into modCounsel, into a new role, different side of the ecosystem. And Carl, you have, and now you're going to write your third act there of this period of your career, and I can see the fire in your eyes from when you made the jump. I can feel it coming through the LinkedIn. I could feel it coming through your LinkedIn.
It's a hunger, right? I was hungry because of the sacrifice I did and had to leave a project behind and left that vacuum.
Yeah.
It's not replacing that void, but it is taking that energy of that voidness, I guess you could say, and directing it to a much more positive perspective. And that hunger and that passion and that drive is what is propelling me this direction in this new role.
And you talked about growth, really assessing your growth. And if you're like all of us, which we're all very alike, how many of us on this stage, when you're selecting a role, or you have a few offers, you go to a literal spreadsheet analysis, and you're like, company, pro, con, matrix, green, yellow, red. God.
Nerd.
We're a really cool group
We're
of people.
spreadsheet or die. Those for me are very dark moments. It's why I test the market when I get recruited, or I'll go out every year or two if I'm somewhere and I'll test it. And I'll see if something this company says starts to pull at my soul, my purpose, my next adventure. I never wanted to go to Netflix. The role, if my team is here, just close your ears for 2 minutes. The role was posted for 9 months, and every time it came up on LinkedIn, I was like, oh, Netflix. Good luck, you guys. And I was like, manager legal ops, LOL. And when they called me, I was in an interview blackout, and I was like, oh, you're calling me 9 months later? Oh, you already got through all your first, second, and thirds. I'm fourth selection. And I think I said to the recruiter, you're late, Jessica. Legal ops started like a decade ago. Bye, and got off the phone. And here I am at Netflix almost 5 years, because when they started the recruiting and asking me what I wanted and who I was and what my vision is, and I started doing the hands and the vision, they're like, we'll give you all of that. And I was like, can I get 10 head count? They're like, done. I'm like, can I get green M&Ms on my desk? Done. I'm like, what else?
Neck tattoo?
Right.
Did you
Can I
ask
get
if
a
you
neck
get a neck
tattoo?
tattoo?
Can I get a one-on-one with Ryan Murphy? True story, it happened. He called me once to give me a job referral for someone that works on my team that is friends with Ryan Murphy. I was like, what? Ryan Murphy? You made Glee. I was like, you have the wrong Jen. This is Jen in legal. He's like, no, you're the Jen I need. So, I mean, what? But my hiring manager, who's now my manager, he kept texting and calling to recruit me, and he goes, are you losing sleep yet over this recruiting process? And I was like, no. And then when the head count hit, the hardest thing we all fight for, and the compensation shifted to move me out of New York to LA, I went, whoa. And I stopped sleeping, and I started pacing, and I'm a Libra. I had a complete astrological meltdown. We can't make decisions easily. And my wife's like, why are you pacing? We're moving to LA. I'm like, I don't know. And then here we are. And I'm on a ride of a lifetime, but it was torturous. And when I told him I'm losing sleep, he just went, LOL, with a Bitmoji. He's such a weirdo. He recruited me with Bitmojis. And I accepted the job at Netflix with this one. Take note, DocuSign. I want to accept my offer letters with a Bitmoji. But I love that. It's like you had a dark night within a dark night. This is like a turducken.
I'm a Pisces, so I'm the two fish swimming around in a circle.
Oh,
So
Carl's
I swam
a
around the circle.
Pisces. Jen, what are you?
Leo. Hard to believe, I know.
Wow.
Shocking.
You guys, we got the...
I'm also a Libra.
You're a Libra too, so you're suffering right now over some decision somewhere.
Always.
It's okay. We can just defer to the Leo to make it for us and steer
I've
us
already
down the
made
wrong
all your
path.
decisions. Yeah, going forward.
You can count on the Leo for just firing us down the wrong path. Thank you, Lion. And Carl does cry in the bathroom daily. The Pisces, you guys cry just as part of implementation. It's like in your task list. You're like,
Crying
requirements.
is number one. You cry and get it out of the way, and then you go.
Cry, requirements. Cry, milestone toll gate through. Everyone bought in. Cry. UAT testing, cry. I cry during UAT. I have a lot of water in my chart. Okay, well, we got everyone signed. Here's the challenge. Do challenges. Anyone know their rising sign? We didn't plan this one on the script.
No.
No.
All right, well, we'll work
Well,
on that.
I'm gonna assume mine is ours not the same?
No, that's the sun and the rising is not the same, but that's another conference. Yeah. Next CLOC, we'll have the temporary tattoo parlor. We'll all get teardrops. You'll get 5.
I'll give 5.
And we'll bring an astrologer. And if my producer and I hit our KPIs on CLOC Talk this year, we're going to get Chani Nichols to come on the podcast and give our industry a reading, because we're a very young industry. And look, I live in LA, okay? Just let me be. I have crystals on me right now. Goes to LA once, becomes psychic. Jen, where did it happen for you? Where did it happen for you where you had to go and splash water in your lawyer face at the firm, in your lawyer face in-house? We have 2 folks who went to law school here on the end, and 2 folks you couldn't pay to go to law school on this end. They tried.
Right.
Smart choice, though. We talked about that backstage, too.
Yes.
Some of us still have debt. Other people are living the dream. That's the difference between
Yeah, I thought my debt from grad school would have outdebted your debt.
No, my debt is bigger. That's a cool thing to have.
You-
Big
There,
debt.
there you go. Overachieve
Here
on
we
your
go.
debt. Way to
I
go.
told you I will
Overachieving on
double
debt,
it down.
okay?
That should be the T-shirt next year.
Yeah, my debt is bigger. Okay, it's also another conference. Take us in. Take us to a moment where you really looked in the mirror and you were like, what was I thinking becoming maybe the lawyer or leading this practice area or taking on that project?
So, one, I will say this, Leos don't cry. In fact, one of my lines is, I will
roar.
cry in the car on the way home like an adult.
Yeah.
I will not cry at work, right? So there's the difference, right? So I don't splash the water, I just grit it and keep going. But I had a project where I had leadership agree, this is something we were gonna do, right? And it was like, yes, I finally got it. Got everybody to agree, let's go forward and let's conquer, right? Feeling good about it. And then I got a couple calls on the side from people that were like, hey, I agreed in the room that I'm gonna actively work against this project, right? And it's like, thanks for the call. Like, what do you do with that? Like, I can't go use it I can't use it and tell other people, I mean, the good news is you have a roadblock, so you know what you're gonna be working around. But I think the thing with us as legal ops people is that we're actually really good at understanding people, right?
Yeah.
We get in deep. We understand your psychology a little bit. We figure out your intrinsic values. So when I had people come in and tell me that, then I was like, okay, I got to figure out how to work that person differently.
Yeah.
I got to find out what works for them and work that so I can get my project done, right?
Whoa.
But you also say to yourself, like, where am I working on this project that somebody would literally call me just to let me know they're going to push against me,
Yeah.
right? Maybe, should I be doing this at all? Is this even worth it?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be who I am, right? And then I also think when you said on the opening session, like, you don't always have to be the star, not gonna lie, hurt.
Yeah. Let me tell you something about Leos. The lion mistakes their shape for a star.
So it literally hurt.
It literally hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys like to do your roaring thing.
Yeah. Be the center of attention, right?
Yeah.
Have our moment.
You should just leave that to us Libras. We will cover center of attention.
Okay.
And you should try crying. Carl will attest.
I was going to say, and I'll just hold you guys. I love you, so.
It's so Pisces. Will you give this man some applause? I love stage left, the Pisces. You know, they're at the end of the zodiac. You're the most emotionally sophisticated of us all because you can feel it all.
To our detriment.
And Leos can feel about 50% of that.
50% of what he feels?
Yeah, you're about midway, yeah.
Yeah, I told you, no crying. somebody calls and says, I'm coming after you. And I was like, but what Leos do, though, then is dig in deeper, right?
Yeah,
like,
you go
well, I'll
deeper.
show you.
Yeah,
if that's how you want to do it. But even, like, so we're talking about imposter syndrome. I think that dark thing, I don't think it matters what you achieve.
Right.
Right? It's always there. And I was telling Clara backstage that, so we won the Leo Award, right? And then they had us present afterwards to talk about our own projects that we were obviously successful enough in to win an award. I woke up that morning and literally was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna ask me that one question about my own project that I'm gonna get wrong, and they're gonna be like, told you. She's a loser, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She shouldn't be in legal ops. Where does that even come from, right? It comes from this need to overachieve or this need to be validated. And I think that we just have to be good enough. We're all meant to be here, right? We all have a purpose, and nobody else can be us. And we just need to own ourselves, good, bad, or otherwise.
Own ourselves, good, bad, or otherwise. This imposter syndrome thing, and also this moth infestation.
Just say,
The whole conference.
I was asleep at 3:30. I went to bed at 3:30 last night, and a moth started face bombing my face in the dark. There must be like a shimmer coming off me from all you guys this week. Like, you can't see. It was like, and there were moths at the CLOC After Dark party. Look, here they come.
this is everywhere.
What was your dark night of the soul moment, moth? When you became a caterpillar to moth? No, it's not going to stay. Imposter syndrome is another endemic that there is a self-doubt streak that runs through the human condition, and I don't, like, what happened? I mean, I'm relieved to know that it's not only me. I was imposter syndrome my whole 20s. Like, I stepped into corporate when I was 21 as a software tester, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna let myself out. I can't. What are you all even saying? Be right back in 9 years, I'm gonna go play bass guitar in rock bands, because I imposter syndromed out. I couldn't. It was like compare, despair. You all know something I don't, and I was just a wall. I couldn't, like, nothing can be permeated. Jen, why do we have this?
Well,
You went to law school. Tell us.
Oh, that was very smart. Thanks for pointing that out again. I like that. Here's the thing I actually think we end up doing, which is really sad about it. We're all super capable people. I'm willing to say that we're all very smart people up here and in the room, right? Everybody's really smart. We disqualify ourselves from these great things that we could be achieving because of the imposter syndrome, right? There's that, and I think it's because we all want to be so successful, because to your point, we're here to make people's lives easier, right? And we want to achieve at that. But we're a back office on a back office. So you're already kind of looked down on, so you kind of have this like warrior mentality, like we're gonna achieve. And I think that the fear of you feel like you're disqualifying your team and all these people who are working really hard. So it feels like it falls on your shoulders to not only make the organization better, but to let your team shine. And I think that weight sometimes, it's a lot. And so I think we just need to, like I said, we just need to embrace who we are and be willing to talk about it, and honestly be willing to cry about it, right? And just look at each other and say, like you said in the first session, this is hard. We need that vulnerability, because if we're not willing to be vulnerable with each other, how are we ever gonna grow and get better?
We fight, and I did a post on LinkedIn about being the knight, right? You're slaying the dragon. But there's times when the knight has to rest, right? And take the moment to step back and go, okay, I will fight this battle tomorrow. I need today to rest. To be able to slay that dragon.
You can take that day. You can take that moment and just be a mess.
Right.
And just be off, or take some out of office, or whatever it is that is the thing that your people, your community here, you can call someone.
Right.
I've called many of you in those moments and gone, help, and just hear another voice and not sit alone with the tape. You talked about the voice.
Right.
It's almost like an old tape in your head.
Oh, mine plays 24/7.
Yeah, I mean, this is brain chemistry. It just plays stuff, and if you let the chemistry just go, it could take you out. Like, I've gotten so emotional over a thing at work that I'll wake up the next day with like a cold or something, because I just like rattled myself. My immune system was like, we're dying, and you catch a germ or something. It's really powerful trying to deprogram that.
Well, so I will say, so as a person who is an overthinker and is trying to change, but I feel like it's the same with you, like I have a tape constantly running. You have to change your own narrative, right? You have to consciously be aware of it to change it. And sometimes when you're spinning, especially projects or when you're trying to drive something, finding that narrative switch is really hard because you're so beaten down. So I had somebody give me a really good trick, so I'm going to pass it off. Use whatever image you want. But I feel like Pigpen, you guys know Pigpen from Charlie Brown?
Yeah.
It's got the dirt cloud, right? That's what I feel like in those moments. And so I had somebody say, I want you to put a picture of Pigpen up on your screen.
Yeah.
And when you feel yourself getting out of control, look at it and say, I'm having a Pigpen moment. Stop myself and rewind. And pull myself out of it, and then tell myself, literally like Stuart Smalley, right? You guys remember Stuart Smalley from SNL? Like, I'm smart enough, I'm good enough, and daggone it, people like me. I have to do that to myself in the mirror and remind myself that I'm worth it. And also that the stresses that we have in our jobs are important. What we do is important. But if you had a different job tomorrow, you would care not. It's the same, and you would care not about that stress at the old job.
Right.
So remember what's valuable to you and focus on that instead.
Life is way too short.
Agreed.
Enjoy every moment that's given to you.
Yeah.
The battles will come, and you fight the battles, but you reprogram how you think, and you know who you are and the skills that you bring. And all of us in legal operations, right? In the legal industry, we're all very talented. We all have hard, good skills. That's why we're here.
That's why we're here.
Yep.
And so
We're here
be proud
because
of that.
be proud
Own
of it. We're equipped to fly into the Death Star, but that still means you're going to have these mirror moments and going to have the moments where you're like, whoa, I was doing a project last year with the team, and that technology, one we all know and love, hate, it had never been implemented on Earth yet in the history of the human race the way we were implementing it.
No pressure.
No pressure.
Right.
No pressure. It was unprecedented, so there was no rule book, and it was just like a lot of mirror moments and a lot of darkness. And that one failed, but we talked about it. We memoed what we learned, and we stood up and shouted it. But I loved what you said, Jen. It doesn't matter where you work in this industry. We're all in industry, and this is where the needle is. What we see in CLM and ELM and matter management, that's like as far as it has evolved right now, and there's always something that isn't going to fit the people. Even when you work at Spotify or Netflix, and I don't get free Netflix. So,
What?
Stop asking for your password.
yeah, no comment on password.
I don't.
Virginia, all of this, what is resonating with you? I know you've been through some battles yourself. You are battle tested.
I am definitely battle tested, and I think that for me, what happens often is my battle is usually a personal thing that then also, of course, impacts my professional life. And I was at the beginning of the pandemic, which, we're still going to be telling at the beginning of the pandemic or during the pandemic, or there was this pandemic story. I was working in live events for legal. There weren't going to be any live events for months and months and months. And at the same time, I had 2 kids at home that were high school kids trying to do online school.
Yeah.
One was doing fantastically, typical type A kid. The other was falling asleep in every single class. And so I was trying to figure out what is it that I'm going to do. And I really enjoyed working with the folks that I was putting together programming for the events. And I knew that they were in the same situation. Like, we had our whole marketing budget set up for the whole year, and a lot of that was going to be these in-person events. And now, how are we going to get our name out? How are we going to get to clients? How are we going to do thought leadership? And so I started doing some consulting on the side. And at the same time, I'm getting my kids through the last couple of years of school during a pandemic. And I came to work for LegalBillReview. And as originally doing some consulting with them in the legal space, about legal ops, about the types of events that LegalBillReview needed to be at. And at the end of kind of that process, when I started to see the light and move into full-time at LegalBillReview, I also took my youngest kid and myself, and we moved from the Washington, D.C. area to Boulder, Colorado.
Wow, change on change during one of the most uncertain
Yeah.
times in history.
So we sold the house. We sold everything in the house. We took the 2 dogs and drove across country and built a new house in Boulder, Colorado. Best decision I ever made. The youngest kid, now getting ready to start their freshman year
Amazing.
in college. The oldest kid is going into her senior year in college. And at one point I said to the president of Legal Bill Review, please don't make me the face of Legal Bill Review. Apparently Barbie Core is the face of Legal Bill Review.
They said, yeah, too late. So you're now the face of it. But talk about a pivot in your career. You were live events focused, and you saw the lights go out on that. Poof. And you're caring for a family, you're providing, and then pivoting on the spot. I mean, moving across the country, not in COVID, for a job I've done a version of before, was one of the hardest things emotionally I ever did. I left home. Like, I was in New York my whole life, and it was a new frontier, and I'd never lived in California. It was terrifying. And to do that with all of those factors on top, whoa.
Yeah, well, fortunately or unfortunately, it depends on how you want to look at it. I've had to reinvent myself a few times.
Yeah.
After law school, I actually worked for Westlaw for 11 years, thinking that was going to be a temporary thing until I figured out what I wanted to do with my law degree.
Yeah.
And then I became kind of an expert in corporate legal departments and what they needed and what they did. And so it just kept evolving. There's certainly times where I felt like, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I have no idea what these people are doing. And certainly have fought some imposter syndrome feelings as well. But at one point, I even left legal altogether and started a decorating business. So moving to Colorado kind of seemed like, sure, why not?
Can I borrow some of your risk tolerance? I really admire this. I'm a softie, and I need to be in the track. I like to be in the track in the system and know the thing. And you're just like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. When you're making the shift, or when you were packing the car with the family for a different kind of job than you've ever had, was there just a moment where you wanted to turn the car around or not get in the car? Or?
No, and I will tell you why. Because the primary reason that I wanted to make the move, and our company is based all over the U.S., so I could have lived anywhere. The primary reason that I wanted to move was because I needed a better space for my kid, and I knew that I would get that in Boulder, Colorado. My sister-in-law, my brother live in Boulder. I needed my kid, who had a really hard time during the pandemic, to feel more supported. And fortunately, Ryan, the president of Legal Bill Review, didn't care where I lived and supported me moving away from, most of our folks are on the East Coast, but supported me doing that.
Are you from the East Coast?
I'm actually from Indiana.
From Indiana, go Pacers.
Midwest in the house.
Yeah, Midwest in the house, yeah.
I don't know why, I don't watch sports at all. And I just,
But you
And you
just
just
knew
threw
the
that out?
Pacers.
yeah, like if someone out there said, I'm from Cincinnati, I'd be like, go Bengals.
That's an interesting fun fact about
Someone
you.
told me last night they're from Pittsburgh. I was like, go Steelers.
Can we keep
I'm
doing
from,
this?
I'm from Tulsa,
Tulsa.
University of Tulsa Hurricanes.
Oh, go Hurricanes. I wouldn't have known that. I fall apart even more so at the college level.
Because normally when I say I'm from Indiana, people say, go Hoosiers.
Oh, go Hoosiers. How did I miss that? That's the big one.
Yeah.
Hoosiers. Great film, great concept, great team. Virginia, you sound, I'm having imposter syndrome. Virginia is so confident. She's just like, put him in the car. Kid needs a better place. We're going to Colorado. Go Boulder.
Little SUV, by the way.
Little SUV.
I told the kid, you get one suitcase because the back seat is for the Labradors.
Yes. Oh, dogs in the backpack, kids. Okay.
And the backpack is for dog food. We're going to take 3 days to get to Colorado.
Yes.
I've already mapped out, this is the Libra in me,
Yes.
right? I've already mapped out all the hotels we're going to stay at.
Libras are very organized.
Each one of these hotels was going to be close to a dog park, right? And then when we got there, we stayed in an Airbnb while I built a house.
Now, see,
Right, like, can we just she is Libraing out right now. She's like, then I did this, then I did that, and now she's going to be like, then I implemented CLM. That's fine.
No, I am not implementing any CLM, but
so you're avoiding the dark night of this.
we don't need CLM. but at the same time, I've grown the business at Legal Bill Review pretty significantly over the last 2 years. So
I'm just sitting here shocked.
I'm shocked.
I think about the trip that I made when I moved from Tulsa to Las Vegas 8 years ago. As a Pisces, as you can imagine, I got in the car with my 2 cats and cried in the car.
The first
right?
6 exits.
It was me and my 2 cats, and all 3 of us were in the car, fully packed.
Yeah.
And I was bawling my eyes out, and they were wailing. And I got just outside of Tulsa, and I went, all right, guys, all 3 of us have to stop. We cannot cry for the next 13 hours. So we're going to buckle up, and we're going to do this, right? So it's interesting that you were like, we're just going to do this. And me, I'm going, let me cry first, and then I'm going to do it.
I know we're podcasting, and I'm not supposed to talk to the audience. But time out. How many of you would watch the Netflix show of Carl and his cats wailing in a car?
I mean,
yes, that's 70% of the hands. Driving across the country, blasting some sad, like Celine Dion diva song, windows down, and you're in like a Prius.
No, I drove a Nissan Altima, the 2-door coupe.
Altima 2-door. I'd watch that Netflix show. I'd watch it. I mean, I'd binge it on preview.
we had road trip music too. It was Taylor Swift the entire way.
Oh, Taylor Swift.
I mean, it writes itself. Both of these write itself.
The way last night I put on LinkedIn, can one of our 116 exhibitors get me and Mary O'Carroll a steak and drop it on a table around 8:45 when we're walking through the Bellagio? I'm going to do that for Taylor Swift tickets. Not a conflict of interest. No. Just kidding. Just kidding. But yeah, I'd watch that show. Virginia, I'm still fishing. I'm still fishing with you. I'm fishing for maybe, how was law school?
How was law school?
Yeah, was law school, were there any dark and stormy moments in law school? My brother went to law school, and that guy, that came out a different guy. I mean, he was like completely broke. It was like the Marines for him. And it wasn't even tier 1, like it was just a 3rd-tier law school, but he just had a experience there with the level of info and, academia. Yeah. Tell me you read right
I loved law school.
Oh my goodness. She loved law.
All right, it's time to move her out.
I absolutely loved law school. Now, of course, I didn't intend.
She loves law school.
I went to law school thinking that I was selling copiers before law school.
Okay.
And I went to law school because I said, I want to be a salesperson for the rest of my life, VP of Business Development.
Yeah.
But when I graduated from law school, my dark moment was taking the bar exam.
Oh, that's right. You took the bar exam.
Yeah.
So when Virginia is met with the tests in life, here's where it happens.
So I'm, flitting around for the summer, on my bar loan. Because you can also get a loan to study for the bar.
Or to pay off.
You can get a loan to study for the bar.
Live on your own for 4 months studying for the bar exam. And most people travel while we live off of money that we're going to make 30 years in the future.
This is a great country. You can start a business selling time.
I was so tan that summer. I learned to cook. And then I went and took the first full-on practice exam where they actually are grading it, and it came back that I was in the bottom 15%.
Ooh.
And I was like, and Virginia is one of the top 3 hardest bar exams to take.
Sure.
It's mostly essays compared to the multi-choice stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is not good. And I had my moment where I literally was like curled up in a ball, having the panic attack, sobbing. What have I done with my life? I now owe $100,000, and I don't know what I'm going to do. From that moment forward, I did nothing but study for the bar exam, and I passed.
Where did you get the fortitude to just turn like that and go from complete fear to complete action? Like what came up in there? What is in this formula for you?
Well, I knew that I did not want to feel like I had wasted the 3 years that I had spent or all that money that I had spent to go to law school. And again, I didn't want to be in sales for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And then, ironically, I had been a Westlaw rep when I was in law school.
Yeah.
And so after day 1 of the bar exam, Westlaw called me from the DC office and said, hey, do you want to come work for us in sales and account management? And I was like, now it doesn't make any difference if I don't pass.
Yeah.
I did pass and went to work for Westlaw, thinking, again, it would be a temporary thing. And 11 years later, I, am a legal ops person.
Wow. Wow. There it is. I found it. I had to fish, Virginia. We had to go back. But
Can I
the
give
bar,
you a quick PSA on the bar exam, though, for anybody who might
Yeah.
take it or know someone? Here's a rule of thumb, and I don't know if you did this. Don't sit at a table by the wall, especially not one that shares a bathroom wall, because then you hear people throwing up the entire
Come
time,
on.
which is what
Come
happened
on.
to me.
People throw up during the bar exam?
Oh, yeah.
Did you hear any wailing? Crying.
Why?
I literally had somebody in front of me stand up, slam down their stuff, and say, forget it, and cry and leave, and like
So in,
Scarlett O'Hara moment.
Virginia, and I don't know if anybody's from Virginia, but let me tell you how crazy it is in
Wait,
Virginia.
are you from Virginia?
I'm not. I'm from Indiana.
You're from Indiana, but you
but-
were over in Virginia.
Yeah,
Got
I
it,
moved
got it, got it.
to, after law school, I moved to the East Coast. And that's a whole other story that's not podcast material.
Got it. That'll be the next conference.
In Virginia, because it's a commonwealth and very, very strict, and quite frankly, very misogynistic. So in order to take the bar exam, you have to wear a suit.
To wear a suit.
You have to wear a suit to take the bar exam. Plus, you also have to wear rubber-soled shoes because they don't want heels clicking around in the conference center where the bar exam is being held.
Wait, you have to wear a suit with rubber-soled shoes?
Yes. So Jen, you
what?
will love this. Let me tell you what I look like to take the bar exam. My hair was on top of my head because the last thing you want is
You were
like
punk
hair in
rock
your
Barbie?
face.
Were you punk rock going to
I
law school
was.
Barbie?
Wool socks, Birkenstocks,
Oh my God.
and a suit with a
All right,
sweatshirt
you
over
got
it because it's
All right. I found it. I found the Dark Night of the Soul. She wore socks with Birkenstocks, everyone. I found it. I knew if I just stayed on it with Virginia, we would find it. Birkenstocks and socks.
I live in Boulder, so now it's like
sacrilege.
everywhere.
Well, in Boulder, it's high fashion. But on the coasts, we're wondering if you're okay. Blink twice if you're okay in Birkenstocks. I love Birkenstocks. I own them. This is not an admonishment of the Birkenstock. Okay, wow, we found it. Well, Virginia, I thought it would be a fun demo of your Dark Night of the Soul for our last few minutes here. We're going to make you take the bar exam in front of the 5 minutes. Yeah, roll it out. Roll out the test, and the GPT prompt
Yeah, the
terminal is
chat
gonna take it
thing
against you.
can now pass it apparently.
Since we're overachievers, and we're going to see how well you do.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to have the AI do it because apparently it now passes the bar
Yeah,
exam.
the AI is passing the bar, which really makes you wonder, why do we need that test? What is that test really training you how to do?
throw up in a bag.
Throw up in the bath. hold your own hair.
Cry.
Uncontrollably.
And wear sneakers. So as you're throwing up in the bathroom, yeah, they couldn't pay me to go to law school.
We really sold it now, didn't we? Are you sure you
Really
don't wanna go
selling
back?
being a lawyer. Yeah. Carl, I think
We did made the right decision.
we dodged a bullet.
We dodged a bullet.
However, all of us are in the work, in the trenches. Jen, your moment when a lawyer, it sounded like it was a lawyer stakeholder of yours, gave you the buy-in in the room, and then they went back and they went, you know what? Never mind. the whole thing is shit and I just lied. Like I just sort of put that on, but I changed my mind. This happens, and you talked about EQ and empathizing. I mean, I am laying myself out to shape shift to what they want, need, what makes them feel good, and to understand that very quickly. I mean, look, one of my Achilles heels is litigation ops. I'm gonna say it, don't tell anyone, and it's a good thing we're not recording. And I have gone as far, I learned a TikTok dance with the litigation paralegal's teenage daughter recently, and did it on the streets of New York just to make her laugh. To make the lit paralegal thinks I'm a complete kook, and I found her funny bone. And I make her laugh to try to make projects go easier. I'm clowning. I'm also really good at TikTok dances, and I'm also a teenage girl at heart.
Okay, so we're gonna have to see the dance.
Absolutely.
I think.
Oh, I can't do the dance. And there's no music playing, so I'm gonna just stand here and mime a dance for you guys. I did that last CLOC. I danced on stage.
Okay.
And next CLOC, I'm gonna be lowered onto the stage, like Justin Bieber in the Believe tour, which I went to as an adult. Yeah. but that is the emotional, laying yourself out like that. I've never vomited from it, but it makes me extremely tired. My first year at Netflix, I would just go home and faceplant into bed. There was no gym. There was some of those routines and rituals we all have. The ritual was faceplant, because I was just like, tell me your pain points, and getting run over by incredible pain points. You've been through the bar exam and as an attorney, and you do legal ops now. You're a real glutton. You're really a glutton. What do you do? What did you do to capture that person?
So I think you really have to your point, one, figure out how you can build a personal relationship, right? Because once they know you, they want to help you, as long as they like what they see, I guess. That might be a part of it. But you meet them where they're at, right? Because you've got to figure out what makes them tick, and then speak to them in that language, right?
Meet them where they're at.
Meet them where they're at.
That means leaving where you're at. And that's sometimes it's not common for us. We think we're fixed in the little red pin emoji.
Yeah.
But you got to lift it up, like on the Google map, and drop it on the Uber, and drop it there.
It's true.
That takes energy.
Well, it's because it's hard, because you have to think, we get so into it, right? So we start talking our speak, and we think, they should get this. They're getting paid so much money, or they really should want this because it's really going to help them out. But you have to give them the so what. They don't understand the so what. So when you find them and figure out what for them matters and then what for their team matters, and you sell them on that, they're going to come with you. But then also, if you can't get them, make them the sponsor of the project, because then they don't want it to fail.
Oh, tricks.
So
Now she's back to tricks.
Side trick. But really first find out what makes them tick, and then meet them there, and then help them understand the value that you're going to bring to them.
I wasn't expecting empathy and orientation moving to them as a vehicle for moving from Act 2 into Act 3. There's so many tools in this work. You three, thank you for coming up here and being willing to unveil some of your dark night of the soul moments. Look, I love the dark. It makes the brights brighter. Thank you. On behalf of the board of directors, everyone, and our legal CLOC staff team, thank you all for being part of this amazing Global Institute. Whether you're an attendee, a sponsor, an exhibitor, whether your role's in-house, at a law firm, at a law, legal service, or tech provider or other, you all help make this amazing event and play a critical role in transforming the business and practice of law. It's been incredible being with you all week and tattooing things on your neck and saying sometimes funny, borderline inappropriate things, but I had fun. Did you guys have fun? Did you learn one thing? Did we learn at least one new thing and make one new friend? Yes, that's KPIs met. I love that. And we've strengthened bonds that we can take into the year. Until we meet again, everyone, see you out there on LinkedIn, online, in our regional chapter meetings. And please enjoy a few scenes from our time together in our closing reel. We'll see you all soon.
community. I really appreciate how open and welcoming everyone is, and how everybody seems to really show up as an authentic person, and it's really helped me be my authentic self already at this conference.
My favorite part so far has just been all the warm introductions from everybody here.
Everyone is just so excited to share their experiences and connect with one another about what's going on in their own legal departments.
It's a super welcoming community. Everyone's here to have fun, share ideas.
Sometimes you feel like an outsider in your company, but here you're one of a group, and I love it.
I have 2 noobs here from my old job and just exposing them to the legal ops community and what their career can have in store for them.
It is what made me change my career from law to legal operations.
Game changer not just for the legal technology and legal world, but also for other functional areas to learn from how to create a great ecosystem for everyone to grow collectively.
We're a community, and so I'm really happy to be here to reconnect with my colleagues.
It's just such a special community where you can go from session to session and party to party, of course, and have the kind of conversations that can't happen anywhere else.
CLOC is the place to be.
Thank you for an amazing 2023 CLOC Global Institute. Safe travels home.